Good afternoon, class. Please stand for our prayer. Amen. Now, before you will take your seat, kindly pick up some trashes under your chairs and arrange your chairs properly. Okay, thank you. You may now take your seat. Before we begin, let us check your attendance first. Is anyone absent today? None? Okay, very good. Now, let me share our learning objectives for today. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to define the symbolism and figurative language in Dead Stars by Márquez-Benítez, perform a dramatic reading of selected lines or dialogues using gestures and expressive tone, and lastly, connect emotionally to the story's message about love, choices, and acceptance. So these objectives will guide us as we explore today's lesson. Now, before we proceed, let us quickly review what we discussed last meeting. So last meeting we talked about Ako Naman Muna by Ken Angela, and we learned about self-love and the importance of choosing ourselves, especially when we feel left behind and loved. So, speaking of love and choices, today we will explore a story that also talks about love but in a more complicated way. Now, I have questions. Have you ever kept feelings for someone even if you know you should move on? And why is it so difficult to let go? Okay, Miss Arante? Okay, thank you for your honest answers. What you just shared shows how complicated emotions can be, especially when we have to choose between what we feel and what we know is right. So, this struggle of the heart is exactly what we will explore in today's story. Now, today's story entitled Dead Stars by Paz Marquez Benitez. So, Paz Marquez Benitez is one of the pioneers of Philippine contemporary short story. Now, before reading this story, let us understand the two important elements in the story, the symbolism and the figurative language. So, when we say symbolism, it is an objects or words that represents a deeper meaning. So, for example, literal star. So, literal star, it is a light in the sky. And when we say symbolic star, it is a love or dreams that shines only in our memory. And figurative language uses comparisons and imagery to express deeper emotions and figurative language uses comparisons and imagery to express deeper emotions. So, when Alfredo talks about dead stars, is he referring to actual stars or emotions that can no longer shine? Okay, Miss Lebres? So, excellent, Miss Lebres. That's exactly right. Now, we will proceed to reading the short story, and we will read this by row. Row 1 will read the first part, and row 2 will read the second part, and so on. Okay, row 1, kindly read the first part. Please stand. Okay, thank you for reading. So, this part introduces Alfredo and his fiancée Esperanza. So their long engagement shows the pressure of family expectation and societal norms, which value commitment and stability over personal feelings. So here, Esperanza symbolizes stability, duty, and societal expectations. The long engagement represents how life can become predictable and routine when obligations are followed instead of personal desires. Now, row 2, kindly read the second part. Please stand. Okay, thank you for reading. So, in this part, Alfredo meets Julia, a woman full of life and energy, who awakens feelings he had never fully experienced before. She represents the possibility of excitement and emotional fulfillment in contrast to the quiet life Alfredo expects with Esperanza. So, in this part also, Julia symbolizes desire, passion, and emotional awakening. The contrast between Julia and Esperanza highlights Alfredo's internal conflict between duty and personal happiness. Now, let's proceed to the part 3. Okay, row 3, please stand and kindly read. Okay, thank you for reading. So, in this part, Alfredo and Julia spend more time together, and Alfredo begins to feel a strong emotional connection. The moonlight walks create a romantic atmosphere and show the intensity of Alfredo's feelings. So, in this part, the moonlight represents fleeting romance and the beauty of emotions that cannot last. So, Alfredo's feelings for Julia are like a spark of passion that contrasts with a steady but dull life with Esperanza. Now, let's proceed to the next part. Okay, row 4, kindly stand up and read this part. Okay, thank you for reading. Now, in this part, Alfredo faces a moral dilemma. And should he follow his heart with Julia or remain loyal to Esperanza? So, this part emphasizes the tension between personal desire and social or familial duty. So, Alfredo's struggle symbolizes the universal conflict between following one's desire and fulfilling obligations. So, this inner conflict is an example of figurative language showing emotional tension through his thoughts and choices. Now, let's proceed to the next part. Okay, row 5, can you stand and read this part? Okay, thank you for reading. Now, in this part, Alfredo chooses duty over desire and marries Esperanza. So, their life is stable but emotionally and fulfilling, showing the consequences of suppressing personal feelings for the sake of societal expectations. So, the quiet and eventful life symbolizes the loss of excitement and passion. So, it shows that following only duty can lead to emotional emptiness. Figuratively, it contrasts with the vibrancy that Alfredo experienced with Julia. Now, let's proceed to the last part. Okay, row 6, kindly read the last part. Okay, thank you for reading. So, in this part, Alfredo realizes that his feelings for Julia are no longer alive, and he accepts that some dreams cannot come true. He learns to appreciate life despite missed opportunities. And Dead Star symbolizes past love that was beautiful but is now gone and unreachable. So, Julia represents memories and lost possibilities, while Alfredo's acceptance symbolizes maturity and moving on. Figuratively, dead stars are a metaphor for unfulfilled love that still shines in memory but cannot give warmth. Now, I will let you pair up with your seatmate and choose one symbolic or figurative line from this story and write down its literal meaning and its deeper emotional meaning. I will give you 5 minutes to work for it. Okay, time's up. Now, I want one representative to share their chosen symbolic or figurative lines from this story. Okay, Miss Gatchalian and Evangelista, can you share your chosen symbolic or figurative line from this story? Please stand. Okay, thank you, Miss Evangelista and Gatchalian. That's a very insightful interpretation. And I like how you identified the emotional meaning. Now that you've explored the lines in pairs and reflected on their meanings, let's come together and share your insights, and this will help us see the bigger picture of how symbolism and figurative language convey deeper emotions in dead stars. So, in this story, what do dead stars symbolize? Okay, Miss Alampayan? Exactly, Miss Alampayan. So, thank you for sharing your understanding of this symbolism. And why did Alfredo still think about Julia even when he has already married? Miss Cajes, please stand. Great insights, Miss Cajes. You really captured Alfredo's internal struggle. Now, how does figurative language help reveal his hidden struggle? Okay, Mr. Kasulukan. Mr. Kasulukan, please stand. Well done, Mr. Kasulukan. You made a very strong connection between the language and the character's emotions. So for the last question, why is the story's message still relevant to relationships today? Miss Makadini? Okay, thank you, Miss Makadini. You apply the story to real-life situations very thoughtfully. Now, let's summarize what we've learned so that we can clearly understand the main message and the deeper meaning behind Dead Stars. Now, symbolism and figurative language reveal emotions that characters cannot speak aloud. In dead stars represents feelings that seems bright but are long gone. Now we will do a group activity, and each group will select a short emotional scene from the story and prepare a dramatic reading using gesture, facial expressions, and expressive tone. And you will perform this activity in front of the class, and remember that you will be graded using this rubric. So voice and tone, which shows that you speaks clearly with strong voice and tone matches emotions, 10 points. Gestures and movements that shows natural and expressive, 10 points. Facial expression, which shows highly expressive and fitting, 10 points. And interpretation, which shows deep and clear understanding, another 10 points. And lastly, group coordination, which shows excellent teamwork, 10 points, a total of 50 points. Now, I will give you 7 minutes for preparation and then perform it in front. Okay, group 1, you may now perform in front. Okay, what a wonderful performance, group 1. I love how you express the emotions clearly. Now, group 2, it's your turn to do it. Okay, thank you, group 2, for your excellent teamwork and expressive reading. Now, on a one-half sheet of paper, answer these questions. Listen carefully, and I will only read twice the question. So, what is the central message of Dead Stars, and how does it relate to your own life decisions? Again, what is the central message of Dead Stars, And how does it relate to your own life decisions? You may now answer. Are you done? Okay, pass your paper in front. Thank you for your honest and reflective answers, everyone. And now, for your assignment, write a short paragraph, 6 to 8 sentences about a dead star in your life, either a feeling, dream, or memory that once felt real but is now gone. You can use at least one symbolism or metaphor. Now, before we end our class discussion today, who would like to share a positive realization from the lesson? Okay, Miss Apan? Okay, thank you, Miss Apan, for your very thoughtful realization. So, dead stars remind us that holding on to illusions can prevent us from seeing true happiness. So, when we learn to let go, we give ourselves a new chance to shine. So, letting go is very good. So, letting go is moving forward. Now, let's end our class discussion. Thank you for your cooperation, everyone. Goodbye, class.